Welcome to Shakespeare Full Circle, a journey of a circuitous nature into the mind of the Bard of Avon, or as you become more familiar, Uncle Will. I'm your host, Qarie Marshall. Well, I'm so glad you could make it, and I didn't have to wait around at all. When it comes to timekeeping, it is well known that you have a spotless reputation. The word reputation seems to have come from the Latin reputationem, via the French into our welcoming hands sometime in the mid-14th century. The root means consideration, a weighing up of one's positive and negative attributes. It can precede you, accompany you, and stick around long after you have left the party. It wasn't until Uncle William needed a description that conveyed a sense of unassailable, unquestioned character that he added the word spotless in his 1595 play, Richard II. The play opens in King Richard's court. Henry Bolingbroke, the son of the Duke of Lancaster, accuses Thomas Mowbray, the Duke of Norfolk, of high treason, plotting against England, stealing money from the crown, and the murder of the Duke of Gloucester, who also happens to be the uncle of King Richard. Mowbray is having none of it.
Take but my shame, and I resign my gage. My dear, dear lord, the purest treasure mortal times afford is spotless reputation.
King Richard reluctantly agrees to permit Bolingbroke and Mowbray to engage in single combat in Coventry, which, incidentally, has a reputation for some lovely countryside and a rather fetching statue of Lady Godiva. However, as the tournament is about to commence, Richard, who has a reputation for impulsiveness, decides to halt the proceedings and banish the pair. I won't spoil the rest of the play for you. Uncle Will was so fond of this phrase that he included it 4 years later in Henry V. Before the Battle of Agincourt, Henry disguises himself as a commoner and has an exchange with a number of soldiers about the righteousness of the military engagement.
Besides, there is no king, be his cause never so spotless, can try it out with all unspotted soldiers.
One's reputation can affect almost all aspects of one's life, from love, social groups, and even your work prospects. Which actually makes me think back to my induction day at drama school. 30 of us sat in a circle on a damp London morning. We were all welcomed to year 1 of 1. Now, I was a bit confused, as I thought I had been accepted into the 3-year acting program. It was explained to us, however, how things were run at RADA. We would be evaluated over the coming year and would either be asked back for a second year or not, to be repeated the following year. He then went on to say that this had little to do with what we will loosely call talent, but something we had absolute control over. He explained that there was no such thing as being on time in the theater. You were either early or late. One will build you a reputation that will open doors for employment, the other will get you sacked, or, in no such specific terms, not asked back at the end of term. In recent years, the unblemished part of the term has been transformed to one of a more steely nature.
He is the ultimate professional public servant who has had a sterling reputation in everything he has done.
It seems, however, that nowadays the possibility of having a reputation that is unspotted is increasingly impossible, as most of our lives are documented online. It's always good to keep in mind the words of the late great Abraham Lincoln when he described one's character as a tree, with one's reputation being the shadow cast by it. And as my grandfather was so fond of saying, a person is the sum of their actions, not their intentions. So, if you are hoping for a spotless reputation, a good starting place is to do what you say what you do, and show up 5 minutes early. Well, alas and alack, my friends, that's all we have time for. Join us again next time for another circuitous journey into the mind of Uncle William. I'm Qarie Marshall. Farewell until next time. Today's clips were from Richard II, starring Sir John Gielgud, Michael Holdern, and Edward Hardwicke, Kenneth Branagh's 1989 Henry V, and Dan Ball's from The Washington Post on Robert Mueller. Shakespeare Full Circle is a production of WGTE Public Media. You can learn more and download all episodes at wgte.org/sfc or wherever you get your podcasts.